Hey, comic fans, welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. And fans, you're with me, Mike Spider Slayer, and we are getting ready to do Countdown episode number 51. Sorry for the miss last week, everybody. It was just a really hectic week with my son's birthday and everything, and I didn't even start reading last week's comics till I think it was last Monday. So I was very behind on everything due to the amount of comics that came out this week. This was a little bit late as well, but it is here, and let's just get right into it so I don't waste any more time. All right, so total comics this week was 19 altogether. However, 17 will be talked about here. Two are digital, and the rest are hard copy. So, with that being said, let's just jump into it. The countdown will actually start at number 17, but there are two comics that I wanted to recommend to you fans if you are fans, and that is Transformers from IDW, issue number 1, based off of the days of old school Marvel print. If you're interested in reading a dictionary, well, this is the book for you. This has got the old school artwork, the old school story, basically right before the TV show came out. I mean, look at the dialogue in this issue. It took me like 30 minutes to read this book. It was insane. But it's cool to see these old comics, come out of the woodworks again and to relive this classic Transformers book. The next one, same thing from IDW. It's its 100-penny press. It's also the first issue of the original G.I. Joe comic that was done by Marvel. Same thing in here. It's got all the classic artwork that you love to see. It's got Cobra Commander in there. It has all your G.I. Joes in here as well, like Snake Eyes and Shooter and Grunt and all those awesome characters that we all loved. It's got the Baroness and it's got Cobra Commander in here. So, yeah, definitely fun reads, guys. This one I think is a little bit more enjoyable than the Transformers one, even though I prefer Transformers over G.I. Joe, but they go hand in hand because I grew up with both titles. So if you're looking for some old school stuff, there you guys go. So here we go to the actual countdown, and we start off with number 17. Womp, 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 womp. Does anybody care? Does anybody think that this is good? I don't. I don't like it. I think it's boring. I felt that this book has nothing to do. It's like, do you find yourself caring right now about young Jean Grey? Do you care about Cyclops in the actual issue? Do you care for that she's on trial? What really actually happens in this book that makes you go, oh my God, I have to read it. This is so great. It was just a lackluster story where you have your Guardians and you have your X-Men just sitting around bullshitting. Jean Grey winds up escaping, and it was just boring and dull. And this series, I feel like there's nothing going to get out of it. There's some action at the end of it. However, just I don't know, man. I just don't like it. I really don't like it. I don't care about Gladiator. I don't care anything that's going on in here. This is becoming a true disappointment for me, and I'm giving this a 1.5 out of 5 stars. Definitely not happy about it. It's not even worth me discussing it because I'll probably fall asleep while reading it again or talking about it. Just a complete bore. Guys, leave me in the comments below what you thought of this issue. Am I the only one that's talking about this, that thinks it's negative? Again, leave me your thoughts. So with that being said, we're going to go on to another great comic this week that I thought, just didn't do it for me either, and that was Batgirl issue number 29. Cat Comic Uno, I'm sorry. I know you love Batgirl. I know this is one of your favorite series, but this is such a generic issue when it comes to this character by the name of Silver that kidnaps this girl because he thinks she's this vampire and things like that. And here we have, he's always seeing them as vampires, and they're not vampires. And he drinks holy water, and he slits his throat in the beginning of the issue, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty stupid and lame. And let me go hop on a car, and Strix is in here, the Talon, and obviously Barbara has like trust issues with her, and it's just so stupid. She's working with Midnight, and I just find it dumb. And then you find like the whole story of Silver, what happened with his mom and how his mom passed away, and he believes that as vampires that they sucked his blood dry. And at the end of it all, when everything is all said and done, you find out that this little girl, that we thought wasn't a vampire and he thought was a vampire, well, in the end of it all, she winds up being a vampire, and she can speak and everything, and they thought she was sick. And this was the line of the week right here, because the girl comes out of nowhere and she starts speaking, and he believes that Barbara's right, that maybe I am just seeing things. And then all of a sudden she goes, "The bitch is in hell with your slut mother." It's like something out of The Exorcist. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? I'm like, but that was the line of the week out of all the comic books. And then out of all great and most wonderful things that we all can expect from this comic book, we get I Vampire that comes in this issue. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, really? We led up to this? And as he takes away the vampire girl, the girl just disintegrates because she bit Silver, and it's like, dude, what is that? Because he drank the holy water, like the vampire girl died. Why didn't she let him bite in to begin with? She could have been dead from the beginning. This is so stupid. I did not like this book whatsoever. This is so dumb. Oh man, I'm sorry, Kat. I know when you watch this, I didn't see your review yet, but I'm curious what you rated this. But I'm giving this 2 out of 5. This was a joke for me. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna drop Batgirl, but there's definitely right now in a time where I'm going to be making some changes in my pull list, because there's lots of stuff coming out within April and May. So I'm making room for these new titles that are coming out. So I'm going to let you know what I'm going to drop as we go along here. All right, so 2 out of 5 for Batgirl. That was number 16. Here's number 15, another book that, yes, I am going to drop now, because I feel that the story is just not strong enough to move forward to have a successful series, and that is Black Widow issue number 4. I really didn't enjoy this story either, guys. This is another one where I find that the villain in this actual issue seems just generic. He winds up going across all these embassies, and he winds up destroying the embassy one at a time. And you find Black Widow here doing things out of her. She's a tough girl, but she basically breaks her arm in this issue, and the things that she does by climbing and leaping over buildings, she's an elite soldier, but just strength-wise, I don't see it there. Buildings explode. The artwork is really good in this issue. I love like the paneling and things like that. But however, just things that she does in the issue, like climbing up buildings, I just don't see Natasha going to that extreme of lengths. I just don't see it. Again, she is strong, but she's not that strong, and she goes against this guy who looks like a boxer, and he represents God and all this other things. And again, I just did not find the whole thing that great. He's just this long dude that's got this mustache and beard, and then in the end, it looks like it's going to continue with him in it. And I said in the last issue, I said, if this story doesn't grab me, if it's not, doesn't seem like a real strong story arc, I'm not going to continue this. I like Natasha. I do like Black Widow. But in solo series, I find eventually they wind up failing, and she's just better off in a team book. And that's where I see her as a character. So, sorry, Black Widow, but you will not be seeing issue number 5. And I did give it probably a 2.5 out of 5. Okay, so moving forward here, we're going on to number 14. I think, yep, number 14. That's right, guys. And number 14 is 0 Year Batman issue number 29. Uh, you know, here's another book. Does anybody care about this story anymore? Are you guys excited about this when you get this each and every month? It's been interrupted. Do you remember what the last issue was about? I don't. I really don't. And after reading this issue, while reading this issue, I found myself just not caring. I didn't care about young Bruce Wayne talking to his father and, reliving, his parents getting shot once again. I didn't care about, before I go any further, again, the artwork is great. I'll say that each and every story, every time. And for some hardcore Batman fans, this might be the story for you. But I've read much more memorable Batman stories than what's going on right here in 0 Year. I mean, uh, you get to see like the old commissioner in this book, and you know what? If you're a blimp enthusiast, dude, this book is for you because holy shit, do you see the biggest blimp on the planet in this book? I'm like, it's the Bat Blimp. Really? A little corny though. And he's like all excited about it too. He's like, dude, this is my Bat Blimp. I'm just like, come on, man. And you see this, this battle between great pages, again, just great artwork. I love the layouts and the paneling and things like that. Like, it's such a nice book to look at, but again, I don't care about the villain. I don't care about it. I find myself reading more about Dr. Death than I do with the Riddler in this series. You get to see a little bit of him in here, and he plays with Commissioner Gordon, but you see a lot of this battle between Dr. Death and how he gets all distorted throughout the issue. And I'm just reading this dialogue for this villain that I really don't care about. I'm just like, come on, when is this going to end? And it felt like a complete chore to read this book because it's a issue that goes a lot longer. It's the end of this particular story arc, or this part. And in the end, I just, again, Gotham winds up flooding because the reservoirs wind up breaking and people are dying. And, in the end, again, you always see Bruce Wayne and his mom is dead and blah, 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 blah. Again, I don't care anymore. I really don't. I'm really deciding if I should continue reading it. I might have to just because it is Batman and it's like I don't like missing it. So, again, I'll be generous and I'll give it a 3 out of 5. So, number 13 is Hawkeye, issue number 17. Now, Hawkeye has had its issues with being delayed, with stories moving forward, and this is an exact example of this because this issue really wasn't needed. We just got done not seeing Clint for forever. So you get two Kate Bishop stories. Then you finally get a story continue last couple weeks ago. And you finally get another one. And you're like, okay, we're on a roll now. We're starting to get going. So when I see this cover, I'm sitting there going, what is this TV dude about? So I'm sitting there looking it up and I'm opening the thing. And I'm like, this has to do with Christmas? So you go in and you see, yeah, it's the normal artist on there, David Aja or Aja, and it talks about a TV show of Christmas. And Matt Fraction even says it's February when we get this tale, but it's Christmas time, and we're about the Winter Friends or whatever they are. Yeah, the Winter Friends. Yeah, you get to see about the flippin' Winter Friends, about a TV show that he's watching. And it's about this guy who's evil, and his name is Mr. Sun. And he's making winter go away, so the Winter Friends come. And their people are called Samantha Hain and Quasi Gator and Manorable. And it was just like, what? what is this? It was cute, don't get me wrong. It was kind of funny because, it goes back to like the Justice Hall from the Justice League, and and the dog represents Clint, and the little girl dog represents Kate Bishop in a way. But I just thought was like, what am I reading? You even got the Track Star Bros, going dog, what up, dog? Yeah, dog, dog, dog. And I'm just sitting here going, why? Why do we need this? Does Matt Fraction really want to write Hawkeye anymore? Because the story hasn't really progressed when it's come to Clint. It's been delayed. We're writing about winter friend dogs, and I'm like, what's going on here? So in the end, it's a cutesy story, um, but it didn't progress anything. Again, 3 out of 5. So let's go on to number 12, I think it is. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So yeah, I think we're at 12. So number 12 was Captain Marvel issue number 1. I was excited about this. I didn't really like the last series. I hated the artwork in it. I gave it such a try. And this time around with all new Marvel now, I'm not going to be as generous with issues because a lot of them are just ending and starting over again. And the same team is on it. I think Kelly Sue DeConnick wrote the last series, but the artist has changed. So David Lopez is on this now. And the actual artwork in this book is a lot better. I really enjoyed the artwork in here. Kind of fit the book. And, I kind of like Carol's personality in the issue. It starts off in a different planet. She's taking on these people. She's with this team. And she's in space the way it looks. And then we get to the other part of the book where it goes 6 weeks ago. And what happens is in the book is you find out that she teams up with Iron Patriot. She has this relationship with Rhodey. She lives in the Statue of Liberty, which I never knew that. I don't know if it took place in the last series. And she finds herself babysitting this little girl. So you see a lot of this supporting cast in the issue. You see her training with Rhodey, so you really get to see Carol on Earth, which was cool to see. But as it goes on, we find out that she is going to space. And when it comes to a lot of the Marvel Universe at this time, I'm kind of burned out with the whole space thing. Everybody's in space. Avengers is in space. The X-Men are in space. Guardians of the Galaxy are in space. Carol Danvers is going in space, and she's leaving Rhodey behind. So it's kind of like, what's going on here? So I did like the ending of this because it gives you a little introduction, and it's cute when it comes to who Captain Marvel is. And even though it was an okay issue, I'm giving it a 3.5 out of 5. No, I don't think I can. I think I'm going to give it an average. I think it's a 3. I don't know. It's in between 3.5. Even though it's a decent issue, I'm not going to sit here and I'm not investing in it because I really don't care what she's going to do in space. Even though I did find the first part kind of interesting, I just, you built up the characters in the beginning and a relationship, and it's like, okay, we'll leave them behind. So I don't know. It just didn't say, oh, wow, I got to pick this up every week. So, again, this was average. 3. Yeah, that's what I'm giving it. 3 out of 5. So, next we're going to go on to issue number, I think we're at number 11 right now. And number 11 is Superior Foes of Spider-Man, issue number 9. This issue was pretty good, too. There's not a bad issue here, except... I am so tired of the ink running on these covers. It really ruins the comic book. I know a lot of us have been saying that lately, but it's just frustrating. Anyway, I love the cover here. Nick Spencer is the writer of this book. And the last issue got cliffhanged by seeing Bullseye. And I made it a thing on our Comic Frontline live show saying that what's Bullseye doing in the book? Because the last we saw Bullseye was in Daredevil, and he's in this coffin. can't see. All he can do, I think, is hear now. And it's just he's like a vegetable. So I'm like, how does he wind up being alive? So in this issue, you wind up finding out that yes, folks, he is actually. Let me just find it real quick. Bullseye is actually a robot. So it's not really the real Bullseye. And that answered my question. So I love how it is within the continuity of the Marvel Universe, which I thought was really great. This issue had lots of humor, especially in the beginning of the book, where it talked about how Boomerang wanted to work for Kingpin, and he's comparing himself to Bullseye, how he is the best, and Bullseye is the second best. Even though Bullseye is better than he is, and references to this thing on YouTube or Twitter or whatever it is, where Bullseye winds up going to fighting Wolverine. He gets over 1 million hits, and then they talk about how Boomerang is cited in Burger King. It doesn't get a single hit, which is so funny. There's some great dialogue in here. How Boomerang wants to throw his girlfriend under the bus so he can survive himself. Hydro Man makes appearance in this issue, knocks on Shocker's door, and Shocker's trying to not see, not show him that he's got Superman's head. And there's some great dialogue in there with Hydro Man, how everything is structured with him, how he needs to stay clean. One day it's TV night. One day it's what was it called? What did he say? I can't even remember. But yeah, he's like Wednesday night is movie night, Thursday night's cooking club, Friday night, oh my God, it's like, which Friday night? And so it's some great dialogue in this particular issue. In the end, though, Chameleon and Boomerang wind up having at it, on words, on finishing the business, on what's going on with the Silvermane head and the painting and everything else. So this, in the beginning, it started off really strong, and I felt it kind of tampered off in the end. But it was still a solid issue. And it wasn't like the best. It started off great and then ended off. So I'm going to give this one a 3 out of 5 stars as well. So I just found myself, there was a lot of books this week that were, kind of mediocre for me. But this was on the verge of getting up there, almost a 3.5. So moving on, we go on to, I think, number 10. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9. Yes, number 10. So top 10 is Superman Wonder Woman issue number 6. I thought this was a pretty cool issue as well, but I was disappointed on how it ended. I thought there was lots of ways that Superman and Wonder Woman could have defeated Zod and Faora and Faora. I can never say the chick's name right. But in the end, it wound up being kind of a disappointment for me. Artwork is always solid here by Tony S. Daniel. Really liked how the beginning of this issue went when it came for them to fight each other. It was a lot of battle, a lot of action. I could have done without the kind of like the cheesy uniforms, but there was some great artwork in here that made this issue shine. And I did do an in-depth review on this, and it was this panels right here. I really loved that. It was very enjoyable. But in the end, it was just kind of cheesy because we find out that Apollo was behind these two getting them stronger this whole time because Apollo was pissed off that Superman beat his ass in I think it was like the second issue. And then what happened was when Zod and Faora wind up defeating Wonder Woman and Superman, they put them in this power plant, and there was no way that Superman could do anything because it was surrounded by lead. And in the end, it's cheesy because it's like, oh, let me get my sword. It winds up splitting atoms. It'll blow up this place. And they wind up doing it together because they're in love and they love each other and represents them working together. And it winds up doing this. And you're like, damn, that's pretty intense right there. And, it represents how he loves her, I guess. Covering her up with the blanket, and but it could have ended better. It was just my opinion, and I thought in the end it was average. Apollo setting the whole thing up. the war planet was coming through the negative zone, the phantom zone. And, I was just hoping for something a little bit stronger, maybe for Doomsday to come through or something like that. But it didn't happen. So we'll see where this goes. And again, I gave this one a 3 out of 5 as well. So moving on, we go on to the next issue, which is issue number 9, or spot number 9. And that is Ascension issue number 2. This is from Zenescope Entertainment. This is one of these titles that could be flying under a radar. It's kind of a little bit of a series that's going on here with Zenescope Entertainment. I'll give you the cover while it loads. And it is right here. So that's what it looks like in Ascension. If you guys ever read like Godstorm or anything like that, it kind of goes back into that storyline. I'm reading it from issue 2, trying to pick up on it, but it has to do with this character right here. His name is the Being. He's trying to shape Earth into his own way, so he's killing all these sinners and whatnot. And we get our characters here are from I guess you want to call it's Hibbo Corp, which is it's a corporation to stop all these people from all these different realms. So it's Salem Mathers, from if you guys are familiar with the Grimm Fairy Tales title, and then it's Van Helsing, which is the female version in here as well, and of course then it's Shang, who is the Realm Knights team leader. So these girls are a team. They're called the Realm Knights, and they're trying to stop this being. It's an interesting story. If you guys are looking for something different from Zenescope Entertainment, this is a fun read. I quite enjoyed it. I I was a little bit lost because I didn't read the first issue, but the job is done here because it did explain at least who the characters are and what the Being really is and what he represents. And that's what I did like about this. So I'm going to give this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. This is Ascension issue number 2. All right, so that was number 9. So now we're going to move on, and we're going to go on to number 8. And number 8 was Forever Evil tie-in, and that is Justice League of America issue number 13. So, now we're at these middle ground books. These are books that I liked, that I enjoyed them, and this was the conclusion. Is it the conclusion to this? No, it's not the conclusion. I think there's one more. Yeah, I guess there's one more here. But this has to do with Stargirl and Martian Manhunter. And Stargirl, has been looking for the Justice League this whole time, trying to get to Firestorm in time so she can rescue the Justice League from Firestorm exploding. She's been going against Despero this whole time, he's like feeding off her fear. And you think that Stargirl's prevailing, that she took on Martian Manhunter's powers and she's becoming this better hero. And yet, by the time you get to the end of this issue, great artwork though. I love the artwork, but this became a very predictable thing. And I said this from the very beginning of this issue, is that when we first Stargirl and Martian Manhunter going in this type of prison that the Justice League are, Stargirl never escaped. She's still in the prison with Martian Manhunter, and basically she's learned to deal with her fears in this actual prison, which was lesson learned here by her. But nothing was resolved. She's just still stuck in here, and we find out that she has access to Wonder Woman. It was good. It was good. It's okay. It's concluded in Forever Evil issue number 7. So this actually is the end of it. It just was like, oh, you're looking, hoping she actually gets the Justice League and she becomes a better person, which she probably does anyway. But in the end, it was just like, really? It's just a cop-out, because Martian Manhunter, of course, didn't die. Stargirl's still stuck in a prison. So after reading all this, nothing was resolved. You read 6 issues of this, I think, or however many tie-in issues there were, just for nothing to happen. You're in the exact same spot as you were after the second issue of reading this tie-in. So that's what made it a little bit disappointing for me and a little bit predictable. However, it still was a good read. It was entertaining. And I'm going to give it, 3.5 out of 5 stars. So, next on the list, we're moving on, and I think we're going on to number 8 now. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, no, 7. Sorry, 2, 3. Yep, 7. Sorry for the counting. It's lots of books. Going on to number 7, we're going to go on to Neverland, Age of Darkness. That's right. So what's that book about? Well, this is another Zenescope Entertainment book that I started picking up. If you guys ever read Neverland, it was a miniseries back in the day, and it had to do with Peter Pan, and it had to do with what's her name? I'm drawing a blank. Tinkerbell in a way, but it's Zenescope's take on it, because they always do these fairy tales based off of stories. And in this particular issue, we get to see this guy right here, and this is Neverland, the Age of Darkness. His name is Nathan Cross, and he is part of this group called Hibbo Corp. They have to protect Earth against these other realms, and then these other realms open up, and these demons are coming through, and these guys have to try to stop this portal that's opening. Well, in the issue, you wind up seeing that there are guys that are getting taken away by this mysterious shadow, and this military group has no idea what's taking them. So this guy, Nathan Cross, who was part of Neverland before in this other realm, has basically come to Earth. He's trying to live a normal life with his wife. His wife doesn't agree with what's going on. He's like, "You're always out there." She's like, "You're always out there, in danger. You have a family to take care of." And he's like, "But I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm doing my job. I'm doing good." And she gives her shit about people wearing tight pants and clothes, and the girl's looking super hot. And then in the issue, he winds up teaming up with this girl right here. And her name is, I'm trying to remember what her name was, Scotland Burke. So he teams up with her, and they have to try to find out, who's behind, these crazy portals, these demons, and they're taking these kinds of, they're taking all these supplies over. So interesting stuff. The artwork's really good here. I like the issue. I thought it was great. I'm going to continue reading it, and I'm giving it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Definitely a cool and different type of story. So next on the list is we go on to number 7. And number 7 is Manifest Destiny issue number 5. That's right, guys. This was cool. I liked Manifest Destiny. I've been loving this series. I think it's been my top pick, or really close to it, a couple times here. The artwork is always solid. Chris Dingus is the writer. Matthew Roberts is the penciler and inker. When you open up a book and you come to this crazy swamp thing looking flower creature, that looks like this, it's definitely got to sit here and kind of pique your interest a little bit, right? Yeah, it did mine. But this used to be one of their people in their crew, and he was infected by this plant or flower disease or whatever they are, and they were forced to take him under. But the only way to kill the guy is just by burning him. And they wind up taking samples of him, and then after being stuck on this little village that they were where they found these plant people, they wind up escaping to their boat, and they wind up talking amongst each other, saying, "You know what? It's our duty as U.S. citizens to go out here and to destroy these creatures, because what happens if they take over the world one day?" So they wind up coming up with this plan. And they have this special fire called Greek fire that continues to burn, and I feel that they can go out and destroy all these plant-like creatures. So they come to agreements because they found out, they get this Greek fire. Everyone agrees, okay, this seems like a good plan. We can do this for our country. And as they're exploring the wilderness, they find crazy creatures. Now, they're not just in the humans, which they think they are, but they're in all the animals as well. So it seems like whatever land that they are in, it's like these flowers or these creatures or whatever it is taking over the entire uh, space or land or wherever they're at. But this was another fun read. I enjoyed it. Maybe not as much action and as much suspense as previous issues were, but it was a good read. And for the first 5 issues, I'm definitely keeping this one for a long haul. So giving this one 3.5 out of 5 stars. So next we go on to number 3 and 4. We're on to the top 5 now. And for number 5, we have the Superior Spider-Man issue number 29. So, what did we get out of Superior Spider-Man issue number 29? Well, we find out that the Spider Slayers are activated thanks to J. Jonah Jameson, or the Goblin Slayers. We find out that Mary Jane took, Senior and Aunt May to safety. You find out that Superior Peter is trying to cure Carly, which that didn't happen. And then, you find out in this issue too that the Green Goblin is sitting here, knows everything there is about Otto Octavius. He goes and destroys the Atomic Research Center. He destroys everything that is close to him. But he doesn't know that Anna Maria is his girlfriend. He thinks that the only person close to Otto Octavius is the actual professor, which was Dr. Lamaze. And in the end, what happens is Dr. Lamaze dies, and I found it a little bit of a meaningless death. It was kind of a cop-out instead of using Anna Maria, so they wouldn't kill her off. And then I found out that even though it's cool to see, Spider Slayers back, because of course I'm like Spider Slayer, I thought they were a little bit generic, and I thought that, you have a return of Spider-Man 2099, and I've said it already a couple of times that I hate the guy's dialogue. It makes me hate the character, and that's what aggravates me about seeing Spider-Man 2099. Unfortunately, that's just how I feel about the character, and that's what brought the issue down for me. I thought that this issue could have done just as good without him in the issue, and it felt like, we haven't seen him in a while, so let's kind of put him in here because he's been helping Superior this whole time. What's he been doing? He's been hanging out at Acmax just watching. Now he makes his appearance. I thought it was an okay issue. I thought there was just a couple things in here that could have made the issue better, like holding Anna Maria hostage. That would have added a lot more drama to the issue because he truly cares about her. And in the beginning, when he first saw the professor, he was like, really? And then when he died, then he cared for him because he said some, his dying words were very heartening to Superior. So I don't know. This was okay. I mean, this was good, but I've read better already, and I give this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. So going on, we're going to go on to our top 4. And number 4 was Invincible issue number 109, written by Robert Kirkman. Ryan Otley is the artist on this book. And, in our last issue, we got to see, Mark, he gets trapped in the other Earth because Robot is trapping him in there, and he's going to want to take over Earth. He has this crazy plan because he ruled this planet before that if I leave Mark behind, I'm going to rule Earth now. He's like infatuated with ruling something. It's just weird. But anyway, he's trapped in this other Earth, and he's stuck with Angstrom Levy, but everyone is dead. The Invincible that was in this world is dead. Angstrom Levy's dead, and you got the Vulturemite guy, trying to find out what's going on. And real quick, Mark is quick to say, hey, he poses as the actual leader of this particular Earth. And he goes into this Earth and comes up with this plan to team up with the Robot in this world to come up with a body so Robot can kind of pose for him. It was quite interesting story here. I enjoyed it. You get to see different takes on alternate universe on how Mark, would do here. and how just little changes just change the entire universe. You get to see Monster Girl in this issue. Work with the Vulture Mites, but she's like a baby in this issue, and she still becomes a monster, but an uncontrollable one because again she's a baby. So really interesting stuff here. In the end, uh, you know, the plan winds up succeeding, but it's creating problems in this Earth. So we're going to see what happens on how Mark actually gets out of this Earth into his Earth and how much time has passed and what has changed since he's been gone. Fun issue. There is some loopholes in here that I, can go into depth about, but I'm going to give this one three. No, yeah, 3.5 out of 5 stars too. So long countdown here, guys. Sorry about such a lengthy video. Going into our top three, and our number 3 is Fantastic Four, issue number 2. I love this issue. This was a great issue, but there was a couple comics better for me than this, and I'm in for this now. This got me invested here. In this particular issue, you wind up seeing that these creatures were released. You're thinking that they were from the negative zone because it opened up in the Baxter building, but these creatures wound up getting released, and they wound up to start and take over all of Manhattan. And we get to see our heroes are just overwhelmed by these creatures, and they don't know what to do. The artwork is phenomenal in here. I think his name is Leonard Kirk. Just really great stuff in here. And it's all done. It's all because of, really, you would think it's because of Franklin. He created this own world, and his world wound up getting sick and infected, and they wound up escaping, which was interesting. And you're like, dude, what's going on here? What did he create? And they're taking over all of Manhattan, and you're just like, wow, this is really pretty cool. And it says The Fall of the Fantastic Four Part 2. And there's a reason why now you understand why their costumes are red, because it represents danger and it's fitting tone for the book. So I thought that was pretty interesting. You get to see the new what's it called, the Fantastic Car. So you get to see that. You see Reed Richards totally in character in this issue about explaining and doing all his nerdiness and things like that. And then they're trying to figure out how to stop all these creatures. So after doing some investigation and some analysis and dissection, and you also see a quick appearance in here by the Wasp, which is really neat. You finally get to find out that these creatures can be stopped. And, fire was a temporary stun for them, but he created this, like, thing that goes in the atmosphere. And so Mr. Fantastic said, well, for its full potential, Johnny has to take it up there, but there could be side effects. Johnny's like, dude, I'm sacrificing myself. I don't care. He's like, the world is in danger. You can understand now why Johnny winds up going on tour, I think, because of what happens to himself in this particular issue. And after he winds up saving all of Manhattan and possibly the world, it winds up having a huge side effect on him, and he loses his powers. He has no powers, and he's crying because he's so upset about it. And you're just like, wow. And at the end of the issue, it goes into detail about in the back about how many times they tried to change their costumes, sketch designs about the Fantastic Jet or whatever it is, and then about these particular creatures that were released in the first issue that kind of look like the Brew, and they're about greyhound size, so you get an idea of really how big they are. So I really like this series so far. I really enjoyed it. This was another fantastic issue. Maybe the villains or the creatures seem a little bit generic, but overall it was a solid little read, and I'm giving this one a 4 out of 5. So next, now we're going on to number 2, and number 2 is The Walking Dead issue 123. That's right. Chapter 9 of All Out War. At the end of the last issue, you get to see Negan, who is waiting outside the hilltop, waiting to make his strike. He's definitely putting up all the zombie guts on their weapons to try to take out the people so they die quicker or get infected or become zombies themselves. This issue, starts off with Eugene being released from the actual facility that Negan is keeping him in, and we get to see some great optimism between Rick and Andrea on how they're going to prevail against Negan. And right when everything looks all great and bright, boom, the next thing you wind up seeing is that the guy that's standing guard confronts Negan, and Negan just sits there and winds up going, kill this motherfucker. And he winds up shooting him right in the head. You just gotta love the dialogue that Negan provides as a villain. He is one of the best villains, and I've said it many times before, that I have ever read. And when the TV show comes on and when they present Negan to the TV show, I don't know if he's going to be comparable or not. But in the end, we wind up seeing that Negan cannot reason with Rick, and we see that everything, that has been going on, that this war has been building up to, has finally happened. It's a true war now. Everyone goes out and it's an all-out brawl. And you get to see everything that's going on in this particular issue, just battle after battle, and you get people get stabbed, and and you get to see that Dwight is trying to choose sides between Negan or Rick. And Negan gives him a chance. He sits there and says, there's Rick right there. He's like, you have a chance to, to shoot him. He's like, you don't have to shoot him. Just shoot him where it doesn't kill him. And, and he's like, okay. So he shoots him, and boom, he winds up getting shot in the back. And it's like, dang. And now it's all infected, with that zombie gut. So what's going to happen to Rick? I don't think he's going to die, but it's going to create a problem now because Negan says it himself. He's like, Rick is good as dead, and without him, they're nothing. Game fucking over. That's what he says. Dude, it was so funny. I really enjoyed it. I love the book here. I love All Out War. It's been building and building and building, and finally, boom, everything just explodes here. They're just finally doing that full war to take each other out. So what happens in issue 10, I don't know, or in part 10, we'll see. But this was a great book. I gave this a book of 5 out of 5. It was an entertaining read. Really enjoyed it immensely. So, with that being said, what was Mike Spider Slayer's #1 book of the week? It might be a book that might be under the radar or sleeper book, and that was Avengers Undercover issue #1. Now, I was a huge fan of Avengers Arena. I loved that book. And the reason why this book gets the #1 spot was I didn't think it would be as good as Avengers Arena. I'm like, how are they going to follow it up to make a good impact or a good first issue? And they did a phenomenal job at getting this to new readers. Whereas all these other #1 books, you're like kind of lost, or you're expected to know these characters. Where this book does a great introduction or reintroduction of these characters that were in originally the Runaways or Avengers Arena or in the Avengers Academy, and it does a great recap of of Arcade and what he did and what these kids went through on Murder World, on how they had to kill each other. And it was so it was so much fun to see these characters again. Even it's only been a few months, but I felt like a lifetime since I read Avengers Arena, and it was great to see the follow-up. And you get to see a little bit of each character, so you get to know them. And that's where this book shined. Now, the artwork was pretty good in here. It is the same artist that did do Avengers Arena. And you get to find out that, Hazmat, she controls her powers now based off of what happened in Avengers Arena. Even the first page has all the characters' names on there. So you know who our main characters are and who survived Murder World. You get to see everyone who survived and what they're doing now, how Chase is going on this talk show, Hazmat's being quiet. You get to see a little bit of Nico in here, who is the dark magic person. of the group. You get to see Deathlocket on how her interactions are with these people, because they thought this was a reality show, and it really wasn't. This was a real life thing that they went through. And thanks to Arcade, it's got billions of hits on YouTube, and everybody is watching it. So you really get to see everything that happened. Now, the main plot of this story had to do with Bloodstone, because Bloodstone is a character in the series that winds up going a little bit nutso, because he won't rest until he finds Arcade and kills him. And he winds up going to the Masters of Evil, into their actual mansion or house or whatever it is or whatnot, because he knows they're affiliated with him. And he winds up going missing. And we feel that the Masters of Evil are the one that wound up kidnapping him or whatnot, where you get to see him here, because that's him without his ring on. And he hasn't come out in 3 weeks, and it's going to be our heroes here to find their friend Bloodstone. And it winds up saying which hero becomes a villain. So is it this particular issue, or is it going to be the series where you see a demise of a character actually turn into a villain? So it'll be interesting to see where this series goes, and hopefully it continues to deliver like it did in the last series, and continue that character development and see these characters change and grow as it did in the last series as well. And I wanted to give this #1 because it really deserves that recognition, unlike Avengers Arena did. Even though Avengers Arena was only a temporary series, it wasn't intended to go forever, because there was going to be an end to it. I really wanted people out there to learn and read a great story, and that's a great book to read in trade, because it has lots of character development in it, and hopefully this one does too. So this gets a 5 out of 5 for me, and #1 pick out of the week, or the group. Long countdown this week, the longest one I have ever did. 51 minutes in total. So guys, you've seen the worst, you've seen the best. And guys, as always, thank you for watching Comic Book Corner 2.0. And again, I apologize for the week off, but I had to be done. So guys, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next comic book review. Take care, everyone. Again, thanks for watching. Bye.